Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. I just tried to film an intro to this on my camera and my camera died as soon as I started filming, so we're doing it on my phone today. So sorry if the quality is a little bit worse, but I'm sitting here surrounded by all my books that are still yet to go into my bookshelf. I will be doing that video very soon. I just had a few sick weeks and just adjusting to moving, and yeah, so we're in a bit of chaos here, but I really wanted to sit down and do a 2K Q&A. First of all, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to anyone who has come over here and watched my videos. I am just so amazed and grateful for how sweet and lovely this community over on YouTube is. It's blown me away with all of your kindness, and yeah, all your sweet comments mean so much to me, and I really enjoy talking and doing longer form videos here on YouTube and vlogging, so I will be here for a while doing lots of videos. I have lots of videos planned, lots of books to talk about always. My favorite thing to talk about is books. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I just thought I would do a Q&A and also just a bit of a get to know me, because I never really did an intro or anything to this channel. I wasn't really sure how I was going to go on this. I didn't know if I was going to keep posting, but it's something I really want to keep pursuing and doing more of in the future. So I thought I'd do a proper intro, get to know me, let you guys know a little bit about me, and answer some of your questions. I'm going to start with some questions relating to books and reading, because that is the main thing that my channel is about, and then I might follow and do some life and illness questions, because I also talk a lot about illness on this channel. But yeah, I'm going to start with some book questions, and I've got my questions here on my laptop. I'm just going to be reading them off here. The first question was my top 3 favorite books of all time, which is like the hardest question ever. I feel like it's always changing. It depends what I've just recently read. It depends what's sticking with me at the time. But I've picked up 3 books here, and they have been in my top 5 for quite a while. So they're definitely probably a top 3. So starting with Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This is the first Sally Rooney book that I read, and I instantly fell in love with her writing style and just the way she writes characters. I found it so interesting and so easy to connect with. The characters in this one, obviously, if you've read it, are very unlikable and frustrating to read about, but I really liked that like human feeling about it, how like we're all human, we all make mistakes, we're all not perfect. And I really enjoyed reading about all of these characters. It's also the first ever book that I have read that is fiction that touches on endometriosis, which is what I have, and I was actually mind blown to read about a fictional character that has it. It just made such an impact in my life and really like validated my own feelings and portrayed the illness so well. There's like many quotes in here that I underlined that were just like talking about how the endo was just taking up her whole life and almost becoming who she was, and just the pain was just so consuming to her. And yeah, it was just really beautiful portrayal of endo and chronic illness and love and just growing up in your 20s and just trying to figure out life. And also I love this cover. This is like one of my favorite editions of any book that I own. So yeah, this is one of my favorite books of all time. Next we have Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. I'm seeing Dolly Alderton in 2 months. She's coming to Australia and she's doing a little talk, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that she's going to do a book signing, because I want to get all my books by her signed. She's one of my absolute favorite authors of all time, especially her fiction. I love her fiction so much. I don't know what she puts into her writing, but it just feels so real and immersive, and even if it's like a short book, it feels like it goes on for a whole lifetime. Like, I just cannot put it down. I am just like obsessed with all of the characters. They're so real, they're so funny. Dolly Alderton is one of the only authors that make me laugh out loud when I'm reading, and I also listen to the audiobooks of some of her books, and they are so great. They do the book such justice. This is all about online dating, ghosting, just figuring out life, and I just found it really relatable, and I laughed many times in this and also cried. It's just so touching and beautiful, and yeah, I love Dolly Alderton's writing so much, and I'm hoping she comes out with another book soon because I will read it as soon as it comes out. I need to reread her books though. I've also read Good Material, which I loved, and I was tossing up between Good Material and this one to talk about, but I think this one just is better. But yeah. And then probably my favorite book of all time, I don't know, it's really hard to choose a number one book, but this one's definitely up there. This is Body Friend by Catherine Brevan. I have talked about this so many times on my channel, so I'll be short and sweet with it, but this is set in Melbourne by a Melbourne author. Catherine Brevan is so lovely. I've met her, went to one of her talks, and I got it signed. Wait, I want to show you. I got it signed to me. Anyway, this book touches on living with a chronic illness, living in Melbourne, and connection to water, which is like 3 things that I love reading about, I can connect to. I honestly felt like I was reading a book about myself. I was crying so much reading this. Every page, I think I underlined a quote from it. Just beautiful style of writing. She kind of uses 2 different characters in the book to touch on 2 different aspects of the chronic illness, so they're not really, I guess, real, but they both represent different parts of the chronic illness, both resting and physical recovery, and like the push and pull between like, should I rest, should I try and do some more like exercise to recover, and just finding the balance when you are chronically ill. This one is just beautiful and amazing, and I highly recommend if you are looking for something along the lines of that. All right, moving on, because I don't want to yap too much about books, because I can yap about books for hours and hours, and this video will just be too long because I've got other questions to get to. I got a question here that said, how long have I been reading regularly? Was it hard to maintain the habit, and have I had breaks, and how did I get back on track? So I have always been a massive lover of books, and I've been reading since a very young age, but I definitely fell off the tracks a little bit throughout, maybe like just after high school. During high school, I read a lot of like YA, fantasy, a lot of series and stuff that are very close to my heart. But then I kind of had a bit of a break during like uni and stuff. And then a few years after high school, COVID hit, and I got back into reading as like a full-time, like just hobby. And I always had a bookshelf, I always had a collection of books, but nothing as big as this. And I started going to op shops and collecting secondhand books. And I found a book on the side of the road out in my country town where I was living at the time, and it was The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. And I decided that would be my first book to read to get right back into reading. Like, I still read a little bit, but this is like, I'm getting back into reading. I'm reading fiction, I'm reading often, I'm like really wanting to make this a habit. And that was a big slog to get through. I'm not sure why I chose such a massive book, but I kind of just started getting into reading after that, and that was probably like maybe 4 years ago now. And then over the time of the last 4 years, I have collected so many more books, and I've just really gotten into reading and really taught it as a habit for myself. It's definitely hard to build the muscles in your brain to like learn how to really focus on a book at first, but if you just set yourself a timer and just really focus on the book, it gets easier over time, and then you end up starting to become obsessed with reading, and you just crave wanting to read and come back home to read a book. And it's just important to find, I guess, a genre and a type of book that you actually enjoy, because you're more likely to pick up a book that you enjoy than one that you're trying to force yourself to read because you feel like you should read that book. So I definitely feel like I found the niche of different genres and books that I like, which definitely helps me read faster and read more often. Ooh, okay. Next question is tips on getting out of a reading slump. I definitely fall into reading slumps quite often, but I feel like they don't last too long. They don't last like years like they used to. But definitely if I'm in a reading slump, I will read something really simple and easy, something maybe even under 100 pages, something that's like YA and really fast paced. I do like to, if I'm in a really bad reading slump, I'll read some graphic novels, and they're just like comforting picture books, but also like really engaging. They just make me find my love of reading again. Or I really highly recommend rereading an absolute favorite of all time. So like I would read Body Friend again, and then it would just reignite that love for reading for me. But yeah, if you are stuck in a slump, just read something really easy and enjoyable, and reading's meant to be a fun activity. Make it that. I have a really fun question here. It says, if you could live in one book, which one would it be? And I was thinking about this, and I feel like a lot of books that I read about, I don't want to be in their worlds. I read a lot of sad books, a lot of drama, just a lot of like books that like I like reading about but I don't want to be part of. But I was thinking about it more, and the book that I would want to be in definitely is The Hobbit. But just the start of The Hobbit where he's in Hobbiton. I don't want to go fight any dragons or anything. I just love the wholesomeness and the sweet like town of Hobbiton and how they live in their little hobbit hole, and I just feel like I relate to hobbits so much. I'm not very much of an adventurer. I feel like I live a very soft, slow life because of my illness, and I'm just indoors drinking tea, reading, just going about my own day all the time. And they have the cutest little gardens and little windows and houses, and their little sense of community and their little like events and stuff. I would love to be a hobbit. That would be what I would choose. All right, question here is, what books am I most excited to read next? We are a week out from Sally Rooney's new novel, Intermezzo. I have not received a advanced reader's copy, which is totally fine. But I am just dying to get my hands on it. I think I'm gonna go to the store as soon as, wait, what day is it next week? Oh, we're exactly a week out. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I'm gonna go like literally the day it's released. I'm gonna go get myself a copy, and I'm so excited to read it. It sounds a bit different to her usual like writing. I think it touches on two brothers. I really don't know much about it at all, but I like going into her novels blind. Some other books that I'm excited to read next are Open Water, because that is our September book club pick, and all my book club friends that have already read it love it so much, and they said that it would be right up my alley. And then I'm also starting All Fours this week, and I'm really excited to read All Fours. Yeah, one of my book club friends also recommended that to me, and yeah, I feel like I'm really gonna like it. The next question was, what book has had the greatest impact on your life and why? Definitely Body Friend. I've already obviously talked about Body Friend, but I just wanted to say, when I went to Catherine Brabham's talk on Body Friend, it really inspired me to start writing creatively myself. And she talked a lot about autofiction, which is like taking inspiration from your own life and making a piece of fiction with that. So this is like obviously parts of her life, because she also lives with a chronic illness, but she then made her own fictional story from parts of that. Yeah, I think about this book a lot. I always return back to different parts of it, and if I ever write a book, I want to write something that is anywhere as close to good as this. This is just perfect in my eyes. But yeah, very inspiring book to me, and really inspires me to want to write. And yeah. Okay, book series that I'm scared to read. ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I have no idea if I'm going to like this series. I have only read Sarah J Maas once, and that was trying to read the Throne of Glass series, which I tried to read like 5 of them. I really pushed myself through it, and I did not enjoy a single moment of it. But I was like, oh, surely it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. And I had to end up DNFing the whole series. But I have been told that ACOTAR would be more up my alley. It's more fantasy vibes, less kind of war, which I do still enjoy, but I just have this feeling that I'm gonna like ACOTAR more. She also wrote ACOTAR when she was older than the Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass was written when she was quite young, and you can kind of tell in the first few books. But yeah, I'm just kind of scared because it's like such a big commitment. There's so many books, but I also feel like I am gonna like it, but I'm also really scared that I'm not gonna like it because I didn't like Throne of Glass. Anyway, that's the book series that I've been putting off reading for so long. I've had them for such a long time, but yeah, one day I will get around to it, I promise. Just need a drink break. I'm drinking electrolytes today to keep me hydrated. If you have POTS, you will relate. Okie dokie. Where do I buy most of my books from? I buy majority of the books that I have from op shops. I'm constantly going into op shops around where I am, down in the city, down near Melbourne, and I found so many amazing copies of books at op shops. It is so surprising to me how many people donate brand new releases to op shops, and you can buy them for like $2. So that's definitely my main source of buying. I've definitely also bought a lot of books brand new from gimmicks or readings in the city. Also the paperback bookstore I love. If you're ever in Melbourne, visit the paperback bookstore. It's so adorable, so cute, so many beautiful titles there. And then I've also bought quite a few online from World of Books, which is a secondhand online bookstore, and they're quite cheap on there. They're about like $10 instead of like a full brand new price, and also free shippings, and there's quite a few on there. It's fun to search for what they've got. Sometimes you can get like rare copies of books. I got Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney from World of Books. I was looking for this copy for so long and I found it on World of Books, so I do recommend looking on there for some cheap secondhand books. All right, the next question is the last book that I rated 5 stars, and that was The Salt Path by Raynor Winn. This is a nature non-fiction book, kind of like a memoir on her life. It touches on a lot of homelessness and her journey with homelessness and her partner, and also her partner's journey with illness, and it was just such a beautiful, touching book, and honestly, I loved it so much, and the nature writing aspect of it was also beautiful, and I highly recommend this one. If you like any of the other books that I recommend, you will love this one. I love it. Okay, I have a question here that says, do you feel the pressure to read a lot of books or to get through books faster because you talk about them on social media? And do I compare my reading goals to others? I definitely do at times, but I don't feel stressed out by it. I feel more stressed out by the fact that I have so many books in my life that I want to read, and I'm not going to get around to reading them before I die. I want to read like 600 books, and I just don't know if I'll ever get around to reading them. And then I also want to reread books that I've loved. And sometimes I just get so overwhelmed about how many books I can choose from that I just sit there and I'm like, I can't read anything because I want to read so many books all at once. So I definitely get that like anxiety, but I don't really feel the pressure to read books because I talk about them online. Sometimes I do, but like overall, like reading is a massive hobby of mine, and I love talking about books online. But if I'm making like a video or a reading vlog for YouTube, I feel like it's kind of like an inspiration to make me read more, which is actually what I want to do. So it's like a good motivation to read. But yeah, I definitely do compare like my reading goals sometimes to others. I am trying to read 100 books this year, but I'm also trying to focus on quality over quantity. But then you see some people who've already read 100 this year, which is like so fine. But yeah, I try not to compare my reading goals to others. I look back at the year of books that I've already read, and I've already read over 60, and I look at the amazing books that I have already discovered and new favorite authors that I've found, and I feel pretty grateful to have read that many books and to have had the time to read them. So yeah, I don't feel a massive amount of pressure, but I definitely do see people online reading lots of books, and sometimes think, oh, I wish I could be reading that much, but yeah. And then the last question was, do I enjoy fiction or non-fiction books more, and tips on reading fast? I definitely enjoy fiction more, and I definitely read fiction faster. Non-fiction, it can be a slower book to get into, but if I'm in the mood for one, I definitely love non-fiction. My favorite non-fictions are nature writing and books that touch on illness, because I feel like I relate to that. And also memoirs, because I do like to read about people's lives as well. But then fiction books, I have a whole different range of fiction. I love literary fiction, general fiction, historical fiction, fantasy, so many books, so many different types of fiction. But my tips on reading fast would be, if you really want to read fast, this might be a bit controversial, and I've told people that I do this and they think I'm a bit crazy. But if I really want to get down and read a book and really concentrate, I get the book on audiobook, and I also have the physical book in front of me. And I put the audiobook on like 2 speed, like double speed or like 1.5 speed. And I read it with the audiobook at the same time. And I feel like hearing the book and seeing the words at the same time make my input of the book much faster. And I actually really love this way of reading. I feel like it's really immersive. I get more from the book as an audiobook, but then also reading it and like how it's laid out. I just feel like I get like more from the book. But a lot of people think I'm crazy for doing that. So each to your own. If you want to do that. I don't do it for all my books, just sometimes if I'm really wanting to like dig into a book. I also feel like that really helps if I'm in a reading slump. It helps me concentrate on a book easier because they're reading it to me and I'm also reading it as well. But yeah, that's a tip that I have for reading faster. I'm gonna stop yapping about books now because I've been talking about books for 26 minutes now and I'm just going to answer some of your life questions that you have sent in and just do a little bit of a get to know me about like what I've done and who I am. So I had a question here that says, how did I decide to become a florist and what did I study and what do I do for a living? So I am a qualified florist. I went to TAFE in Australia doing a certificate 3 of floristry and that was a year-long course. I never had this big dream of being a florist. I always loved flowers, I always loved the outdoors. I always was a very creative person, very hands-on creative. But I kind of had this like moment just before COVID where I wasn't sure what to do with my life. I was very stressed out, didn't know what I enjoyed. And my mum suggested looking into floristry and I went, oh, that sounds fun. And I saw that there was an actual course that you could do and I did a year of that and I fell in love with floristry so much. It was such an amazing course. I learned so much. It was so hands-on. We made so many beautiful bouquets. We learned all about flowers and how to care for them. And it was such a good way to get into the industry. So then I got a job right at the end of that, working at an online florist, and I met so many beautiful friends there and I had a great time and I really grew as a florist and I became very confident in myself, probably the most confident I've ever been working at a job. I've always been quite, self-conscious and scared to that I'm not good enough for a job, but I really became confident and really believed in my floristry skills and made so many beautiful bouquets. And yeah, I really loved the career as working as a florist. But about a month ago I quit floristry and I don't see myself going back as being a florist probably ever again. I am a big believer in doing lots of things in your life, finding different hobbies at different times, and floristry was right for me for the past 3-4 years, but I feel like I've grown out of it. And also with being sick and chronically ill, floristry is not a sustainable career for me. So I've been looking at different things that I want to do. I'm kind of in a bit of a limbo stage at the moment, but I highly recommend floristry if you love flowers and you love hands-on creativity. I don't regret being a florist at all. I've learned so much from it. I love flowers even more now. I've always got flowers in my home and I just love them so much. But yeah, being chronically ill and being a florist, they don't mesh. You have to be on your feet the whole time, long hours, exhausting, it burnt me out completely, and I feel like I'm still suffering the effects from working so hard as a florist. And then following on to that question, I had a few questions about my chronic illness and endo diagnosis journey. So if you're new to my channel and you're watching for the first time or you're not sure about what my illnesses are, I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2021, I think it was. I had surgery to diagnose my endo in 2021, but I had been having symptoms for my endometriosis since I got my period. Ever since my first period, I had excruciating pain that led to me fainting. I was curled up in bed, crying in pain. I was throwing up, I was passing out. I could not go to school on the week of my period. It was just excruciating pain. And then I went onto the pill, which did mask and cover up my symptoms, but then I started getting symptoms again, and then I started getting really sick and unwell every time I was on my period. I would get a monthly cold, flu, be stuck in bed, and then continue to have pain. So then I ended up going and seeing a specialist, and he did surgery for me and diagnosed me with stage 3 endo. They found endo covering so much of my bowels and my uterus and my ovaries. My specialist said to me I had a significant amount of endo growing, and he normally sees that amount on someone much older than me who has had their period for longer. So it was very validating to get that diagnosis. I was so stressed going into surgery that they weren't going to find anything, and I was just overreacting. We get told by doctors and dismissed so many times, and we get told that our symptoms are just in our head and it's not real, and that period pain is normal. But it's so important to listen to yourself if you are going through something like this, and to stay true to yourself and really believe in yourself. Currently at the moment, I had surgery about 3 years ago, and it definitely helped in the first year. I was sick way less often. I still had period pain, but not as severe. And just like those everyday symptoms did decrease, but I have started to get worse in the past year or two, and I am looking into maybe having surgery again. But my doctors are kind of pushing for me not to have surgery, because if I don't need it, it is really harmful to go in and look for endo if you don't have it. But I'm just monitoring my symptoms daily at the moment, and really advocating for myself, because I know deep down that I am going to have surgery again, and I'm really listening to myself. But yeah, what they don't tell you about becoming chronically ill is that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to research yourself. Doctors don't give you a black and white answer of, you've got this is how you solve it. You have to do all the research. You have to become, it's almost like a full-time job. You got to go to your doctor and be like, I think I have this. This is why I think I have this. These are my symptoms. This is what I think you should do for me. Or if you find a good doctor, they can be supportive as well. I do have some beautiful doctors that I visit, but I have been dismissed by so many doctors. I was told by a doctor at the start of my journey of trying to be diagnosed that my pain was because of my red hair. So yeah, it's definitely a very eye-opening experience becoming chronically ill, realizing how much you have to advocate for yourself. But then, yeah, continuing on with my diagnosis journey and my chronic illness and everything, this past year has been a very eye-opening, difficult, challenging year. It ended up becoming too much for me to live by myself out of home. I completely ran out of money. I wasn't able to look after myself. I could not cook for myself. I could not clean. It just became too much. And my main symptom started becoming chronic fatigue, which was very confusing for me, because it was always pain and period pain and back pain and leg pain and all that, headaches and everything. But my main symptoms started becoming this year fatigue, and I think my body was just completely exhausted and completely drained from fighting off all the endo and the constant go of working and trying to live a life, and pushing against being in pain led to me being extremely fatigued. And what I didn't realize is that every time I stood up, I would feel dizzy, and I was so exhausted, and I was always like, oh my God, I need to sit down, I need to lay down, I'm exhausted. That actually ended up with me being diagnosed with POTS. And that only happened because I found out myself that I had POTS. I was doing a test with my watch, and I found out that my heart rate almost doubled when I stood up, from just sitting down to standing, not even walking, no exercise, just standing up. And I realized, oh my God, I think I have POTS. So I went to my doctor and I explained, I think this is more than just endo, because I was going to my endo specialist with all these symptoms, and he's like, this isn't endo related, you need to look into something else. Do you have low iron, low B12? And I'm like, it's more than that, it's debilitating. So yeah, my beautiful doctor, she diagnosed me with POTS and chronic fatigue. And ever since becoming aware that I also have that on top of my endo, and my endo is so severe that it has also led to this, and my nervous system just being not coping. It's just led to me realizing a lot more about my body, and just connecting with a lot of people online as well that also have other chronic illnesses and a lot of similar experiences. It's been really eye-opening this year that it's not just endo, but endo has led to a lot of these problems. So I started going to see an exercise physiologist. I started doing small little exercises, just lots of little 1%ers during the day to try and help me not crash as bad, because I definitely do have crashes after I've done things and gone out. It's the thing with chronic fatigue, is that your body just shuts down completely. You just need to go to bed and just completely sleep, and every single muscle aches. It's you can't keep your eyes open. It's awful. But yeah, now I'm drinking my electrolytes, wearing my compression socks, just pacing myself and learning a lot about my body, and just being super, super gentle. And yeah, that is where I'm at in my chronic illness journey. It's obviously been extremely hard to like adjust and to realize that parts of my life that I wanted to do, like floristry, is just not for me, and to rethink. I am going and studying professional writing and editing next year, which I'm really excited about, and I'm hopefully trying to get more into like the reading, writing, editing world. But yeah, it's really hard when you've got a chronic illness and the unknown that comes with that. But I feel like I have embraced and I have really accepted where I am at. It's been years and years and years of living with this pain and this fatigue to come to that acceptance, but I feel like I live a much slower, softer life because of it, and I am actually quite grateful of where it has led me and the friends that I have made through it. And I'm just hoping that more research continues to develop and that there will be some sort of cure or close to cure for endo in the future. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop yapping, and I've got one more question that is not related to life or work or illness. I had one question here on what type of music I'm into, so we'll finish off with a fun little note. I love music. I've grown up in such a music orientated family. We listen to music all the time. We always go to gigs. We all play lots of musical instruments. I play guitar. I'd love to play piano, but I've grown up listening to a lot of Australian music. So you might not know some of the ones here if you're not from Australia, but my absolute favorite band of all time is Middle Kids. They're an Australian indie rock band. And then also Gang of Youths. Angie McMahon. If you haven't listened to Angie McMahon, I highly recommend listening to her latest album. Her writing and her lyrics in her songs inspire me to want to write and be creative. Her writing is just so gorgeous and touching. Then I also love Troye Sivan from Australia. I've seen him twice and I'm seeing him in November. I'm so excited. Also Spacey Jane, another Australian alternative band. And then some artists that are not from Australia. I absolutely love Lainey. I have gone to see Lainey so many times, and I'm also seeing them in November as well. Yeah, they're just one of my absolute favorite bands. And also the 1975, such a fun band to see live. And then Bon Iver, I recently saw a year or two ago in the pouring rain outside. Magical experience. I love Boy Genius and Phoebe Bridgers, and then obviously Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift, and I just went and saw the Eras tour last year. But yeah, that's my music taste and my favorite artists. I have so many favorites though, so I'm probably missing quite a lot. Anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you because I have been chatting for way too long, but thank you so much for watching this video if you've watched the whole way through. I have surprised myself for how much I've been yapping on for, but yeah, it was really lovely to sit down and chat and do a little get to know me video. And I think the next video on my channel is going to be a book shelf organizing video, so I'm very excited to film that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!